I've been doing this reaction thing for a little while. Maybe I probably got like 8 subscribers and maybe like 8 videos. And I usually react to like law and crime, police pullover, body cam. Sometimes I'll do like a loyalty test or something. But what I'm noticing is that the majority of people don't know their constitutional rights. They don't know that they have the right to remain silent. They don't know that they have the right to bear arms. They don't know that they have the First Amendment right to of freedom of speech and press. You know what I'm saying? So I think today's very important that we learn every U.S. amendment that there is. There's 27. I mean, I always thought there was like 13, 14, but there's clearly 13 more. So we all finna learn a little something and hopefully educate ourselves and not put us in certain situations in the eyes of the law, especially if we don't know. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Oh,
First Amendment. It protects individuals' rights to express ideas, practice any religion or none, report news, gather in groups for peaceful purposes, and request government changes without fear of retaliation, ensuring a foundation for democracy and personal freedom. It basically guarantees freedom of speech, religion, press, assembly, and petition. Second Amendment protects the right to keep and bear arms, allowing
okay.
individuals to own weapons for personal.
So the First Amendment said um protects you of freedom of speech, press, religion, assembly, and opinion or something. I don't know what that last one was. Let's see real quick.
And petition.
And
Second Amendment
petition. So you could file a petition under our First Amendment constitutionally protected act right. So nobody can tell you you can't file a petition. Nobody can tell you you can't um start an assembly. Nobody can tell you you can't say certain things. Nobody can tell you you can't record in public places. That's the First Amendment.
protects the right to
This is
keep
the
and bear
Second
arms,
Amendment.
allowing individuals to own weapons for personal safety, defense, and recreational use. It supports the concept of
Personal safety, personal defense, and recreational use for weapons.
defense and the collective security of a free state, reflecting historical importance placed on militias and individual rights. Third Amendment prevents the government from forcing citizens to house soldiers in their homes during peacetime without consent. This amendment addresses
All right, now this one's important because if we're at war, they don't have the right to come take our house as a like a mounting position or a strategic advantage position. They don't have the right. They used to have the right. If we was at war, they come right in here and make our house theirs. Yeah, it's that
differences
serious.
from colonial
These are
times under
serious.
British rule, emphasizing the importance of privacy and property rights
I
in a
remember
free
learning about
society.
this in school.
Fourth Amendment protects individuals from unreasonable
Search and
searches and
seizure.
seizures,
Yeah.
requiring law enforcement.
This is the one we have to know the most as I ain't gonna say we. This is the one you guys have to learn the most as criminals or anybody for real. They can't just search your shit without a warrant, probable cause, reasonable articulable suspicion. That's RAS. That's RAS. Like we have to know this stuff. So if we're driving and we get pulled over because of tail lights out, they can't search our vehicle unless they smell weed or see something visible to the eye. That's illegal. But if we just drive in, they and our tail lights out or we fail the turn signal, they can't tell us to get out the car and search our vehicle. There's levels to
Obtain
this
a
shit.
warrant.
And if they do violate any of these constitutionally amended acts, then we get paid out. We file a lawsuit against the state in the police department. I mean,
And probable
that's what
cause
they're
for
here
such
for.
actions. It ensures privacy and security in personal property, reflecting a balance between individual rights and the needs of law enforcement. Fifth Amendment provides protections in legal processes, including protection against self-incrimination, guarantees due process of law, prohibits double punishment for the same charges, and ensures
That's a lot.
Compensation for the taking of private property for public use.
All right. Now, my take on the Fifth Amendment was freedom of not freedom of speech, but the I have the right to remain silent. That's the Fifth Amendment to me. Let's go back and see what the fuck they just said.
There's compensation for guarantees due process of law in legal processes, including protection against self-incrimination, guarantees due process of law, prohibits double punishment for the same charges, and ensures compensation for the taking of private property for public use.
Okay, so they can't take our property, our private property, and use it for public use. So if we have a park in our on our land, on our private property, they can't the state can't open it to be public. They can't make it a public park. Like that shit's still private. Double punishment, I would say that to me sounds like double jeopardy or like facing the same crime twice. Like if I get arrested for a bag of weed and well that probably wouldn't work. If I get if I get arrested for something, they can't arrest me for that same something further down the line unless I do it again to somebody else. Or I mean do it again to the first person. I don't necessarily know. That's why we're here. It protects you against self-incrimination. Now that's the freedom of I mean, that is the right to remain silent part so that you don't self-incriminate yourself by saying anything. So they can't make you say anything. When they come, I don't answer questions. I like to invoke my Fifth Amendment right. And I don't feel comfortable speaking to you guys without a lawyer. You know what I'm saying?
Safeguards personal liberties and property rights in court. Sixth Amendment ensures the right to a fair and speedy trial.
Okay, fair and speedy trial. Because we starting to get in unfamiliar territory. After the first five amendments, I start to get blurry. I start to don't know. We finna find out together.
To know the charges, confront accusers, obtain witnesses in defense, and have legal representation. This amendment is fundamental to the justice system, guaranteeing a fair legal process for criminal defendants. Seventh Amendment guarantees the right to a jury trial in civil cases involving disputes over
Okay.
property or money, preserving the role of juries in the legal system.
Okay, so the Seventh Amendment is the right to a jury. So we can call a jury. That is our Seventh Amendment right. That way we could have be judged amongst a group of our peers. Um,
Reflects the historical importance of jury trials in protecting individual rights against arbitrary government action. Eighth Amendment prohibits
arbitrary
excessive
government
bail and
action.
fines, and cruel and unusual punishment, ensuring that penalties are fair and proportional to the offense. This amendment reflects society's values on humane treatment and justice, preventing the government from imposing overly harsh penalties. Ninth Amendment.
All right, so the Eighth Amendment protects you from cruel and unusual punishment. So that's like if you're in cuffs already, but they send the dog to bite you. That's cruel and unusual. Or if you're in cuffs and they tackle you in cuffs still, but they can't like tase you or like pepper spray you in cuffs or something. I don't know. Don't let me get to lying. But I think if you're in cuffs and they send a dog on you, that's cruel and unusual. If they tasing your private parts or in your neck or in your head, that's cruel and unusual. If they're beating you with a pistol, that's cruel and unusual. Like so on and so forth. I'm pretty sure you guys could come up with some cruel and unusual punishments down below in the comments. Make sure you write some cruel and unusual punishments. That's the Eighth
States
Amendment.
that the enumeration of specific rights in the Constitution does not mean that people do not have other rights that are not listed. This amendment protects unenumerated rights, acknowledging that individuals hold more freedoms than those explicitly mentioned. 10th Amendment
That one
clarifies
kinda
that
lost me.
powers not delegated to the federal government by the Constitution, nor prohibited to the states, are reserved to the states or the people. It emphasizes the principle of federalism by limiting federal power and protecting state sovereignty and individual liberties. 11th Amendment limits the ability of
I'm learning.
individuals to sue states in federal court, protecting states' sovereignty by requiring consent for such lawsuits. It addresses concerns over state immunity and the balance of power between state and federal governments.
Okay, so the 11th Amendment protects the state.
12th Amendment modifies the procedure for electing the president and vice president, ensuring they are elected on separate ballots. This change was made to prevent confusion, promoting a clearer and more effective presidential election process. 13th Amendment abolishes slavery and involuntary servitude.
All right. This one's important to, I would say, all people of color, all indigenous people. Um, I can't say anyone who is white because there were white slaves. But it abolished slavery. So this is the one I think. Um, Abraham Lincoln. Damn. So Abraham Lincoln made the 13th Amendment.
Except as punishment for a crime, marking a pivotal
Except as punishment for a crime. Do y'all hear that? So abolish slavery except for punishment in a crime. So criminals, crime workers, right? You guys are putting yourself in a position to be a slave of the state. When
change
you're
in
doing
American
these things, you
society
got to be
by
careful.
formally ending the legal institution of slavery and reflecting the nation's commitment to individual freedom and human rights. 14th Amendment grants citizenship to all persons born or naturalized in the U.S., guarantees equal protection under the law, and extends
This is important now, currently, with ICE and everything. If you were born in the country, you are protected. And that's what they're kind of going through now with ICE and getting everybody out, and people who live here or people who move from another country illegally came through, crossed the border, and had kids here. Their kids are protected by the 14th Amendment. That's
civil
deep.
liberties.
That's
It
deep.
played a crucial role in civil rights by defining citizenship and ensuring legal protections for all individuals, including former slaves. 15th Amendment prohibits denying the right to vote based on race, color, or previous condition of servitude, advancing civil rights by ensuring that all men, regardless of race, have the right to vote, though actual implementation faced significant challenges.
Now, the 15th Amendment, from what I hear, they said all men. Where's the women? I don't know if women were included, but to me, it sounds like the 15th Amendment is for men, not women. That's
Voting rights will be a key issue as we head into an election year. In November, a federal appeals court decision paved the way for a Supreme Court battle over the Voting Rights Act. Whether you saw this story may depend on which way you lean politically, because it is mostly being covered by left and center rates news sources. I know this thanks to Ground News, the sponsor of today's video. Ground News was
sponsor.
founded by former NASA engineer Harley authorizes the federal government to collect income taxes without apportioning it among the states based on population, enabling a key source of revenue for the government and supporting the funding of public services and infrastructure. 17th Amendment
Okay, so it sounds like the 16th Amendment is to help build public infrastructures,
establishes the
to
direct
get
election of
income to
U.S.
build public
senators by the voters of the states,
infrastructures.
enhancing democratic governance by making senators more accountable to the electorate, reflecting a move towards greater democracy and public participation in government. 18th Amendment initiates prohibition, making the manufacture, sale, and transportation of alcohol illegal, aiming to improve social conditions but ultimately leading to unintended consequences and the rise of illegal alcohol trade, demonstrating the complexities of legislating morality. 19th Amendment extends the right to vote to women, marking a significant milestone.
Finally, here we go. The 19th Amendment, I think it was the 15th for men or 16th. So 3 amendments later, women can now vote. That's crazy when you really think about it.
In the fight for gender equality by recognizing women's suffrage as a fundamental democratic right, reflecting the
'Cause
culmination of a
women
long
are people too. Let's not forget.
struggle for women's rights. 20th Amendment
20.
changes the dates for the start of presidential, vice presidential, and congressional terms, and addresses presidential succession, aiming to reduce the period where there's an elected official whose successor has already been elected or will be soon, and ensures a smoother transition of power. 21st Amendment revokes the 18th Amendment, ending prohibition and allowing states to regulate alcohol, acknowledging the failure of prohibition and the need for a more practical approach to alcohol regulation and consumption.
So the 21st Amendment negated the 18th Amendment. So they could have just removed the 18th Amendment and it been straight, but they added a 21st Amendment to help sell alcohol and transportation and make it regulation m- make it easier to regulate consumption among the public. That's
Second
cool.
Amendment
That's cool.
limits the presidency to 2 terms.
So yeah, that brings me back to the speakeasies. Boston during that time when they had the 18th Amendment and everybody was negating the sale of alcohol and all that. Boston didn't like it, so they came up with a whole bunch of speakeasies. That's like little hole in the wall, little backdoor secret things. I might do a series on speakeasies. A backdoor secret thing, you go in, give them the code, not do a special knock or something, they let you in, and it's like a bar, an underground hidden bar. It's fire. They still got them till this day. I might do a little series
Responding
on
to
that.
Franklin D. Roosevelt's 4-term presidency by establishing a formal restriction to prevent indefinite re-election and ensure periodic leadership renewal. 23rd Amendment grants residents of Washington, D.C. the right to vote in presidential elections, addressing the lack of representation for the district's residents and moving towards greater democratic participation.
Okay.
24th Amendment prohibits poll taxes in federal elections, eliminating a barrier to voting for low-income individuals and advancing civil rights by ensuring that the right to vote cannot be conditioned on economic status. 25th Amendment
Okay.
clarifies presidential succession and procedures for addressing presidential disability, ensuring continuity and stability of the executive branch by providing clear guidelines for transferring power in cases of incapacity. 26th Amendment lowers the voting age from 21 to 18, recognizing the maturity and citizenship responsibilities of younger adults, particularly in light of military service, and expanding democratic participation.
Yeah,
27
that makes sense because the 26th Amendment brings the voting age down. Because at that time, or I mean, I'm pretty sure at 18 you can go to war. So why, if I could go to war, I can't vote for my rights in my country, in my state? So that makes sense.
Amendment delays congressional pay changes from taking effect until after the next election, ensuring that legislators cannot immediately benefit from their own decisions regarding salary adjustments, promoting accountability and fairness.
Booking.com has all kinds of stays.
All right, boom, there you have it. I mean,
Some
14
love a
amendments.
rustic cabin.
Hold up, let me skip
Others
this ad.
feel differently.
I said 14 amendments. This was 27 amendments. We have 27
George Washington.
constitutionally.
George Washington is known
hold
for
up.
fighting in
Let me make sure I subscribe to this dude. We have 27 constitutionally protected acts that we need to take serious as citizens of this country. The first 5 for sure. The last few are important, but for you guys that I'm seeing in these videos getting pulled over, riding around with all this illegal stuff, it's important that you know the first 5 amendments, 1 through 5. Protection, freedom, press, religion, that's 1. The right to bear arms, that's 2. What was 3? I forget 3. But 4, oh, I think 3 was, I don't know. But 4 is important. Protection against search and seizure um, without reasonable or articulable suspicion or a warrant. And 5 is the right to remain silent. So those are the most important ones that I see in the videos that I watch. I think it's key that we take heed to these amendments and learn them, memorize them. That way, if our constitutional rights get violated, we get a big payout. We could sue the state and we could sue the police department. All we need is a name and badge number, right? And oftentimes, when the officer who's pulling you over is acting rash and aggressive, you could ask to speak to a supervisor. You could ask to have their supervisor, and you can request a supervisor, and they have to bring the supervisor. And the supervisor should handle the issue properly. And if not, then that lawsuit. But there it is, 27 constitutional rights that are important to us as citizens of the U.S. Have a good day, ladies and gentlemen. For sure. Make sure you stay learning.